is all possibility and all potential.
It's people's imagination and comprehension of that is so limited, you can't accept it.
Yeah, but there's a reason why that is as well. But more and more people are starting to go here. I mean, I've been staggered, especially since COVID, the number of people that have started not just to see the cult level of manipulation, but actually are starting to realize that
there's got to be something more to this.
That this is much bigger than what it appears to be. And what another thing that people are seeing is that this agenda that's more and more obviously unfolding is an anti-human agenda. This cult is seeking to hijack and control sources of food, sources of water, sources of energy, sources of freedom, and they are seeking to control everything that humans need to survive. And if they hijack those, which they're doing obviously now, more and more blatantly, then we as a human population become dependent upon them for the basics of life, and what you are dependent upon controls you. And this is why it's being done. But as I was saying earlier, this understanding that these entities that actually created this simulation are feeding off low vibrational human energy, you understand what the sacrifices are about, and why they're doing the same sacrificial rituals now with these rich and famous billionaires as they were doing back then in Babylon and so on. Is because when you're going through the ritual, you've got your sacrificial victim. Often a child, by the way, and there's a reason for that. You know, when they talk about the ancients sacrificing young virgins to the gods, that was children, basically. That's what we're talking about. What they're doing is systematically triggering terror in the sacrificial victim. The greater the terror they can elicit, the greater the offering to the gods. So it's all about terrorizing the victim. When people are exhibiting emotion or thought energy, like terror for instance, you can see the body language of how they're feeling, because they're screaming or they're terrified or whatever. And if you're sensitive, you can pick up these vibrations and you can feel what they're feeling. When people say, "Oh, I'm fine, mate," honestly, I'm fine, but you can feel it. You're not fine, are you?
You know what? It's just because you're mentioning this, because of all the issues we've been seeing on social media from Gaza, seeing all these children all over my Twitter timeline crying and upset, it hits you immediately.
Yeah,
like you feel it.
Yeah, it's a vibrational connection. Yeah. We're picking up what they're giving off, and so you can feel that, and you can see the body language. What you can't do is see the frequencies. Why? Because they're being given off outside of our human system, and they're going into this astral dimension. That's why we can't see them. That's why we can't see the astral, unless we have psychic abilities. And these gods on this peripheral lower frequency band of this astral dimension are absorbing these frequencies which the sacrifice is giving off. That's the sacrifice to the gods. And what happens in this world of the Satanists who are doing this in our reality, the human reality, they then drink the blood of the sacrifice, because the chemical expression of that terror releases an adrenaline into the blood, which to them is like a drug, it's like a high, and they drink the blood. And people who've seen this happen have described how when they drink the blood, they go bloody wild often because of the effect it has upon them. And this is where adrenochrome comes from. And all these stories of the elite in America drinking the blood and which has adrenochrome in it, it's
you were one of the first people that saw putting the thing down about the pedo, Jimmy Savile, and how he would get kids, and he was hooked up with the royal family, and part of the reason would be he was a supplier of children from all those hospitals he had to the elite.
If you think about Jimmy Savile,
these motherfuckers are getting our children, killing them, raping them. The fuck?
the royal family absolutely would have known about him. British intelligence knew about him.
Even the locals in the area, the rumours were rife.
Yeah.
So even like regular folk on the street knew.
But he was never collared for it. And then you start to look in the background. First of all, in his own words, he was invited into the inner core of the British royal family in the 1960s by a man called Lord Mountbatten. Lord Mountbatten was a known paedophile. He was infamous for it.
Has that been proven officially?
Oh yes, oh yeah. I mean, people have come out and they've talked about being abused by
I've seen loads about this.
I don't cross the line and say this is how it is unless I've reached a point where I've got so much information from no different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so a known paedophile brings Savile into the inner core of the British royal family, where he becomes a close friend of Prince Philip, till they had a big falling out apparently, and a close friend to his death of Prince Charles, now King Charles.
And he was in with politicians such as Thatcher.
Well, yeah, again, he was a friend of Margaret Thatcher, and it was Margaret Thatcher's cabinet that all the stories came out about how many paedophiles there were in Thatcher's cabinet. Her father, who ran a grocery store in Grantham, was a known bloody paedophile. I mean, the girls were warned not to take a job at his shop, bloody everywhere. And so anyway, what Savile was doing was like, people knew, but he's never collared. Because what he was doing, and this has not come out, he was a procurer of children for the rich and famous. He was supplying children. This has come out through at least one member of his family, but it has come out through other sources, through the...
It's not been broadcast in the way everything else was.
It's not coming out through the mainstream.
Yeah.
It's not coming out on the mainstream like they do to Andrew Tate. How the hell is that right? How is that right, people? Oh,
He was a paedophile and a Satanist, and I said so in The Biggest Secret, and that book was read to him in the week of publication, when he was still a member of Parliament.
How long ago was this?
This was 1998, and it was 17 years before the Wiltshire police did an investigation into Heath paedophilia, and said if he was alive today, we would open an investigation. We would be questioning him on this.
What was his response when they read it to him?
He said, an excuse for a journalist read it to him and then wrote an article about the fact that she read it to him, kind of, she wanted to credit, ridiculing me, like, but who knew nothing about anything. But when she read the passage to him, he just said, David, I must be mad, and that was it. There was no other response. And I wasn't. It's what he did. And Savile was supplying children for him. This has come out through various different sources, not least in the so-called care home in Jersey, which came to prominence at one point, involving Ted Heath. And I'll tell you,
Is that the one that Savile was
there was a visit,
because I've seen a clip of him, just for reference here, just so people know that there's, from what I've seen even, there was a clip of him talking to a little girl, I think, in the bed, and she was really scared of him, and he said, what have I done to make you so scared of me? And she said, everything. And it was chilling, horrific.
People were scared of him, not least because, and not least media people were scared of him, because of his connections. When you're supplying children for paedophilia and sacrifice, by the way, to the rich and famous networks of the cult.
Because there are lots that went missing, right?
Yeah, exactly. On the number of kids go missing. I mean, people relate the number of kids go missing to the number of missing children stories on the news. Forget that. Vastly greater than that. You never hear of most of them. And so they were, when you're supplying them with children, you don't get collared, first of all, for what you're doing. Anyone that threatens to expose you, well, they better watch their back as well, because the same people are watching his back. And I tell you,
So what happened in America to Epstein, you know, he was in jail, he's ready to testify.
You know, they tried to protect him. They protected him once, in the first round, and then when the women wouldn't give up, they had to stop him coming into court or coming out. Whether they killed him or whether they didn't, that's an open question that people have. But certainly he was disappeared. And by the way, on our media platform, Iconic, we have a program called Classified, which is really, you know, looking at the far out stuff. And recently we interviewed a lady called Juliet Bryant, who is a known girl that was abused in the Epstein network. And she describes on that show how she saw him shift from what she described as from a human form to a dragon type form. And she wrote a book about her time in that Epstein ring when she's being abused as a young girl. And she uses the word dragon in the title because of what happened to them. You know when you look at the Avatar movies, you have the American military. Look about the first movie, and they want to infiltrate this moon. I think they call it Pandora or something. Of these blue people called the Na'vi. Now they knew, because they wanted the resources that moon had. So they knew if they turned up as human military, the Na'vi, the blue people, would go, "Who are you?" So what they did in the movie is they took on the external form of a blue person, a Na'vi. And they infiltrated Na'vi society and sought to take it over until they sussed what was going on eventually in the story. That's what has happened. These demonic entities, they also take human form, and we see them as human, but actually behind that human facade, again, when you realise what reality is, you can see how that works. They're absolutely not human, and sometimes there's a shift that goes on where the entity behind the human form can be seen. It's rare. That happens a lot in the rituals, by the way. So many people have described it to me who've taken part in satanic rituals with these people. But sometimes it will just infiltrate the human, and people in a flash, often a flash, not always, but mostly, they'll see someone change from human to non-human.